Go.
All right, welcome everyone to tonight's presentation on the strangeness of our moon. Happy full moon. Now all my lunatics here and ready to go. We're actually going to be talking about lunatics and other strange phenomena associated with our moon tonight. So Carl, if you can pull up our slideshow.
Yeah.
There we go. So tonight we're talking about our moon and the strangeness of our moon. So planets and space events distract most stargazers away from the wonderful world of moons. But these satellites have a life all their own. Far from being dead rocks, moons can be lethal and make music. Some are not even solid. It's not just their unique features and abilities that tell astronomers more about space, but also their absence. In recent years, several intriguing old mysteries about our own moon have been solved. Next slide. Most of the 200 tons of trash on the moon is space junk and things that have crash landed or been left behind by the 12 astronauts who have visited since 1969. Abandoned satellites, spent rockets, cameras, backpacks, and golf balls. But here's one of the more morbid moon facts. Among the detritus on the moon are the ashes of Eugene Shoemaker, one of the founders of the field of planetary science, sent skyward by NASA in a polycarbonate capsule. Next slide. One of the moon facts from the Middle Ages that scientists and philosophers believed was that a full moon caused seizures and influenced episodes of fever and rheumatism. Because of the connection between the moon and unusual behavior, the afflicted were called lunatics, or literally moon sick. Next slide. Each year, the moon's orbit moves about 4 centimeters away from the Earth, which doesn't sound like much, but it means that in a mere 500 million years, the moon will be 14,600 miles further away than it is right now. Next slide. Man hasn't set foot on the moon in more than 4 decades, and yet fresh prints remain. Because there's no wind or water on the moon, these tracks can last millions of years. Next slide. Just like the Earth, the moon has a crust that shifts and changes. Moonquakes can occur when the lunar crust warms and expands, or they can be triggered by meteorite impacts. While moonquakes don't reach the same level of intensity as earthquakes, they can last much longer because the moon has no water to combat seismic vibrations. Next slide. So the moon has a time zone all its own. It's called Lunar Standard Time, but it doesn't correspond simply with the time on Earth. Time is quite different on the moon than on Earth. A year on the moon is divided into 12 days, each about as long as an Earth month. Each day is named after a different astronaut who has walked on the moon. The days are divided into 30 cycles, which are then divided into hours, minutes, and seconds. Oh, and the calendar started the moment Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. Year 1, day 1, cycle 1 began on July 21st, 1969 at 2:56 and 15 seconds universal time. Next slide. The moon experiences some pretty intense temperatures on both ends of the spectrum, considering how close it is to our life-friendly planet. During the day, temperatures can be as high as 200 degrees Fahrenheit. By the moon's poles, though, the temperature stays around minus 400 degrees Fahrenheit. This disparity is due to the moon's lack of an atmosphere. Next slide. Many different superstitions and beliefs influence our ancestors who looked at the celestial phenomenon. One of them says that when our silver globe is full and shines brightly, then we can expect the next day will be beautiful weather. The occurrence of rainfall, on the other hand, was associated with a hazy moon surrounded by a white circle or halo. So we should check the weather for tomorrow while we're out there, see what kind of weather we're going to get. In earlier times, it was also believed that the red or transparent shield of the full moon was a harbinger of natural disasters, wars, and the worst plague outbreaks. Next slide. A blue moon is not blue in color. It does not look any different than a regular monthly full moon. So it's not caused by any physical phenomenon that makes the moon appear blue. However, the very rare occasions when the moon actually can appear blue are if particulate matter of the right size is suspended in the atmosphere and interacts with light reflecting off the moon. On average, a blue moon occurs once every 33 months or full moons, 41 times per century, or about 7 times every 19 years. An even rarer event is when 2 blue moons happen in the same calendar year, which happens about 4 times per century. The term blue moon originated from the 16th century expression, "the moon is blue," meaning that something was impossible. The rare phenomenon of 2 blue moons, using the more recent definition, occurring in the same year, happens approximately once every 19 years. 1999 was the last time a blue moon appeared twice, in January and March. The months of the double blue moons are almost always January and March. That is because the short month that falls in between them, February, is a key ingredient in this once every 19-year phenomenon. For January and March to each have 2 full moons, it's necessary for February to have none at all. Since February is usually 28 days long, and the average span between full moons is 29.5 days, if a full moon occurs at the end of January, it's possible for the next full moon to skip February entirely and fall in the beginning of March. The full moon is a great time for positive manifestations, abundance, good fortune, and working on empowerment. Add to that when the full moon is at its strongest in a blue moon, and the connections with deities, spirits, and that energy can be harvested for rituals to invoke spiritual energy, raise vibrations, and set new goals. Blue moons are also wonderful to use for truth-seeking, divination workings, love spells, wishes, banishing, and protection spells. Next slide. The supermoon. About once a year, when the moon is at its most full and closest position relative to the Earth, it becomes the supermoon. Supermoons have been blamed for everything from madness to flooding. Have no fear. The supermoon will not turn you into a lunatic. It might. A supermoon might be able to change the tide slightly, but it certainly won't cause natural disasters, experts have said. The full phase of the moon causes higher tides, but adding a supermoon on top of it doesn't create any significant difference. The supermoon creates an especially strong pull on the ocean tides, making it an ideal time to work with the element of water. You can combine equal parts dried mugwort, lavender, and cinnamon sticks to burn on a charcoal disc for the supermoon. Burn the incense to draw the raw energy of the supermoon into your ritual space or the home and hearth. Some people feel an especially heightened sensitivity during the full moon, and this multiplies tenfold during a supermoon. If you tend to lean this way, take the time to get grounded. Eat plenty of carbohydrates, tap into your root chakra in meditation, or work with the element of earth to balance it out. Or go completely crazy. I'm just saying. Asana wrote this presentation, not me. I will be giving very different advice. All right, next slide. A blood moon. A blood moon is a total lunar eclipse that happens when the moon is completely covered by the Earth's shadow because the Earth has moved between the moon and the sun, blocking the sun's light from reaching the moon. When this happens, the moon looks red, hence the name blood moon. The energy of the blood moon encompasses the energies of the Earth, moon, and sun. The moon is reflecting the energy of both the sun and the earth back to you as it approaches fullness. The possibilities for magical work are endless. The blood moon is an excellent time for any spell, ritual, or work that you absolutely want to see to completion. Next slide. Rhythm has been a universal language throughout human history. It transcends cultural boundaries, allowing people to communicate and connect on a primal level. The beat of the drum resonates deep within us, evoking a visceral response that stirs the soul. Drumming has been used for millennia as a means of spiritual expression, healing, and celebration in cultures worldwide. Within the context of a full moon drum circle, the drum becomes a vessel for channeling the energy of the moon and connecting with the universe. So let's get to it.